looking at information up front. Hey, this is not that hard. This is not like it's a stressful thing for you. I get it. Here's how we're going to walk you through and how we're going to be a resource for you. And I think that keeps things a lot less complex for people. Yeah, you look at that our list, there's a lot going on. And I tell people that. I said there are a lot of moving parts. That's what you have us for. We're handling these moving parts. Our transaction coordinator is doing these pieces. I'm doing this. Your job is to, when you see a house that you like, tell me about it. I'm going to do some research and see how that matches up to what you like. Because I often find too, there's something where someone says, I absolutely have to have this. I had a client once was like, I absolutely have to have a garage. And then they sent me a house that didn't have a garage. And I came back and I said, well, you said you wanted to have a garage. This doesn't have a garage. Like, yeah, we just need a place to store our stuff. And this has a shed. So looking at those things and having that conversation with them, again, finding the place that they can love. Then we can do our part. When we're doing that and they find their piece, then we can come back and take the next piece of that. Okay, we're ready to make an offer. Here's what this is going to look like. That offer is accepted. Okay, this is what this is going to look like. And taking it in small chunks. So I specifically will tell people, yeah, there's this stuff going on, but this is where we need to worry right now. Let's find the right house that works for you. And then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the next step of it. And then once it's accepted, we're going to talk about the next step. And I think a lot of times we just want to throw a lot out at people, show them that we know so much because this is our whole thing. Keep it simple. People get confused, they don't buy.
And just so you guys can kind of, I know Rich doesn't have this in front of him, but he probably has it ingrained into his brain, is we're not going to necessarily, you guys can take what you want out of this process, but this is obviously Rich's team's buyer client master checklist. As he mentioned, this is the internal checklist. This is not something that we give the client because clearly it will overwhelm the heck out of them. But we have to always make sure from the backside of our business that every single client has the same experience, and having a structure, a checklist like this that you can use internally, especially if you are an agent, if you have a transaction coordinator, if you have a marketing person like me, there are multiple people involved in every single deal. And so making sure that all the little check boxes are checked and every little finite item is done is critical, but also to ensure that you know at the end of the day that every single client that goes through your process is having the same exact experience. Everybody's going to love it. It's going to feel simple and organized. But just so you can see, Rich kind of likes breaking it down by phases. So I'm not going to go individually, but phase one is all the different tasks that come into play before they buy, the consultation, the onboarding piece of it, all of that. Then it kind of leads into the house hunting section, which is clearly what searching for all the important things that are important to them. And then it goes into the offer strategy. And this isn't necessarily even just Rich all the time too. There's pieces of this that his team are having to be part of along the way. And then it goes into phase two. So during the process, the under contract process, I think a lot of agents assume that most of the work is done, to get the deal to closing, but there's so much more once it's under contract that still has to be done. So he breaks it down by, okay, what has to be done during the due diligence period for us in North Carolina, the pre-closing prep, all the different things that have to be done to make sure that that's handled. And obviously for closing day, there's things that you have to remember to do consistently to make sure on closing day, everyone's having the same experience. And probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, probably the most important on this is phase three, after closing. The 12-month stay in front plan. And this, I think, is something that every single agent, honestly, we all can do better probably. But gives you a decent guide at how important it is to stay in front of these people each week. So just so you guys can see what this looks like, this is his internal checklist.
And thanks. I appreciate you sharing that because Deb has it in front of her. I have it up here. Yeah, that's all the stuff that we do. When it comes to a client experience, what they're getting is, tell me what's important to you in a house. Tell me what's going to work for you and what's not. And then I tell them, and we talk about how you're going to pay for it, and keep that simple. I think people get nervous when it comes to that piece because they think they can afford something. They don't love no one wants to talk to a lender. I love my lenders, and I urge you to talk to them, urge them to talk to them. And I tell them, like, you want to find the information out rather than playing guesswork. So from them, it's find out what you love. Let's figure out what works for you and what you're going to pay for, and then go enjoy houses. I'm going to send you stuff that makes sense. But if you see something you like, I tell them just send me the address. I'm going to do additional research for you. We're going to pick the ones that make the most sense to see. Our job is not to be a tour guide of houses. Our job is to help them buy a house. And we'll talk about the help them sell a house part of it too later. But that's so all they're doing is like, wow, you're like, we're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. And I like them initially to know that we're doing stuff behind the scenes so they can keep it simple. When it gets to the under contract phase, there's a lot going on. They say, this is all the stuff that we're doing. What I need them to do is respond to the attorney's questions so they know any information that they need. Show up for the last 30 minutes of the inspection so we can go over that inspection report with them. Anytime they talk to the lender, the last thing they say to them, do you have everything you need? And they'll be doing their stuff. And then start thinking about where your stuff's going to fit in the new house and that we're doing the rest of it. Keep it simple. And absolutely, when it gets to our process and the things that we do, there's the part like, how much more of a resource can we be for our clients after the sale? Yes, I'm going to remind them first of wire your funds and make sure you have your ID with you for closing. After that, you're in a house, things going to happen. I literally got a call yesterday from a client that had a closing on Monday. And she was like, man, I forgot to change the utilities over. Do you have that list that you sent me who I need to talk to? And sure, we sent that over. We'd already sent it. We're always going to send it again. We're going to do a follow up. Hey, how are things going? They know that we have the resources for things. This one is new construction. We put it on our list that at 11 months, we recommend they have an inspection done again. So we're continuing to be that resource. The number of people who reach out to us that we just send out our Tuesday touch point, which can just be a reminder about cleaning your gutters or changing your air filters or anything to do with your house, where people are like, man, that is great information. Can you get that to me? Just our process is staying in front of that for them because I want those guys to know we made the process simple. They can focus on the things that are important to them, which is getting into that house. I Every client I work with moves for a life circumstance situation, oftentimes a stressful life circumstance situation. They're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're having a baby, new job. I have clients that are closing on Friday who came down 3 weeks ago and they're like, I got a promotion for my job. I need to be down here. We need to buy a house. We did the truncated version of our thing. We got them a house in a day and we're closing on Friday because they knew that we were like, we got you. I have another client that I saw every once a week. She reaches out to me and she's like, oh, we're thinking about putting in custom closets. Do you know somebody? Sure. We want to do window treatments. Do you know somebody? Absolutely. So being that, continuing to be that resource for them, is an important part of our process and very simple to do. But ultimately, we want to make it as easy as possible for our clients. That is the most important part, keeping it simple for them because we're the experts. They don't know what we know. And I think a lot of times we assume that they did. Any questions so far?
Everybody's just listening today.
Everybody's listening today. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That means I should have gotten a throat lozenge so I can talk more. Now, the biggest part about that is, as I say this, as I'm doing a monologue, you can get very easy into dumping too much information onto people. And this is where I say I was talking to somebody, it was actually my girlfriend who's a social worker, and we were talking about sales because she's never been in sales in her life. Oh. And she's like, man, sales seems so complicated. I'm like, it's really not. Like, my job is to find out what a client wants and get it for them. It makes me look infinitely smarter and infinitely better at my job if I'm literally just asking the question. And I think the question that we don't always ask, the two questions we don't always ask are, why is it important to you and what are you hoping to accomplish? And I'm throwing those two out when we talk about asking questions because I think it is so easy for us to just give a lot of information to people that they don't need, don't know, don't care about. Why is something important to them? Well, let's go back to my garage story. My client's like, I want a garage. Okay, didn't think much of it. What they wanted was a place to store their stuff. They have kayaks and they have different things. It wasn't so much like I grew up in the north, everybody wants a garage because they don't want their car out in the elements. I assumed that without asking the question. I was, okay, garage, why is that important? Okay, open area, why is that important? I want to put the big TV up. Makes it easier for me to be a resource by asking those questions because now I'm not talking to them about a house that's not going to work for them and showing them 20 houses for no good reason. The other part of that is the what do you hope to accomplish piece. I think in any of these situations, something is going to come up that's going to be stressful. I was talking to a seller client last week, and she had concerns about, well, why did it take them so long to give them the due diligence request and what's like, and she was not understanding how that all works. She was getting concerned about it. We had responded back with our negotiation on that, didn't hear back, and she was getting nervous about that. And really, what her concern was more was they bought the house sight unseen 4 years ago when the market was crazy. She's concerned about the house is costing them money. They have to sell it. They moved out of the area. We're not going to make enough money. Like that was really the issue. So in knowing that, knowing what they want to accomplish, because she's like, well, if this doesn't work out, maybe we'll just rent the house again. I can have a conversation with her. Like, okay, let's calm down. We'll relax a little bit. I know what you need to accomplish. Let's make sure that everything we're doing is fixing that goal. And I think that makes it a whole lot easier for us to be a resource for people. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the listing playbook and give you a little bit of that information too, so you guys can work on that. Again, I'm going to give you an example of something before you even look at our stuff. This was before I moved to North Carolina, before I was in real estate. I You can thank me later. I was the one that caused the initial real estate crisis back in 2007, 2008. I had bought my house. I remember saying to myself, I was not planning on staying in Illinois, but I was like planned on moving within a year or two. And I'm like, I might as well just buy a house because why rent? When is real estate ever a bad investment? And then I found out because about a week after I moved into the new house, the market crashed and I lost $100,000 worth of value on my house. So it got to a point where I just needed to sell this house, cut my losses. So I understand what my client was going through that I was talking to you about before. I was in that situation. I was not in real estate at the time. So I was interviewing real estate agents. And this one agent came up to me with their, you know, 40-page CMAs and their 12-point marketing plan and all this stuff that they were going to do. And this is great. Like it looked really cool. And I was like, fantastic. Where do I sign? And I go in and I sign on my stuff. Like, oh, we're going to do all these things and it's great. And I didn't understand half of it because I'm just a guy trying to sell a house and I want to make the money. And the house sat and wasn't hearing from the agent. Okay, what happened to the 12-point marketing plan? What happened to that 40 pages worth of stuff we're going to do? I reached out to the agent and I said, hey, I want to schedule a meeting with you. I'm a sales guy, so I want to understand that part of it. I'm like, you gave me that list of all these things that we're going to do. I'm curious as to how things are working. Is thing number 2 on the list getting more traction and thing number 7 isn't? So maybe we put more resources into thing number 2. Like that's just how my brain works. And the response I got from the agent was, maybe I'm just not the agent for you. And to which I said, if you're saying that, then you absolutely aren't. And I had them terminate the contract. And I'm like, you want to quit because you're not, clearly they were not doing the job. And the reason that I mentioned this is that I think there's a lot of flashy stuff out there of all the cool things that people like to say that they're going to do in order to get a listing. If you're not going to do it, don't say it. And if you're going to do it, show how what you're doing is different. How you're going to like listing sites. Everybody loves to do listings, and that's great. But our job is to help get that house sold. Sometimes that's managing other buyers agents to get them to come in. Sometimes it's just being great at the marketing side to show your house. And what are you doing to make these things happen? Don't come up with a list of just a whole bunch of stuff that just says, here's the stuff, like we're going to do all these things and not do it. So that being said, I'm going to share a bit about some of the things that we do I find are important. I think, again, make it easy for clients. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple for them. I don't care if it's a person who's been in the house for 2 years or it's been a person who's been in the house for 20 years. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the house. We're going to look at that house like we are the buyer's agent looking at the house exactly as it is. I tell them, don't do any homework, don't do anything. Just let me walk in and see what I see. I also bring my phone with me and I take pictures. I take general pictures of the house so I can go back and refer to things later. I go through and I look at the utilities because a lot of times clients don't remember when they got a new HVAC. They don't remember when they got a new water heater. So I take an overall picture of it so we can take a look at it later. I look at the label so I can get an idea of when it was manufactured, how long they've had it. We look at the roof, we look at everything in there. And we just do that to start. I'm like, we're just going to give a feel. I tell clients, I said, most things, first thing we're going to do is you're obviously going to declutter. We want to have this as open and depersonalized as possible that everybody else is going to talk about. And then we take that information and I tell them we're going to take that information, we're going to go back and we're going to review it. I look at it, I run it through our software. We look at the age of things. We look at if we see rust on things, if we see dated paint colors, things like that. And we put that all together beforehand. We say, okay, this is what we found. So in addition to doing, obviously, you're going to want to know what we want to list the house for, and you're looking at your comps and figuring that part out. We're also going through, and this is way before we're not doing this in front of the client. We're getting that information. So now we go back and, here are our recommendations. This is what we think would be the best thing to do to get your house to appeal to as many people as possible. I will tell you, if maybe not all of you who are in today are from North Carolina, you get the Duke Carolina thing. We have a lot of conversations on what color blue a room is. Sounds silly, but you get people like, oh, I'm not buying a house because I'm a Duke fan and that's painted Carolina blue. While we would joke around about it with people, it is something that we will mention because I know that it comes up. We want to appeal to as many people as possible. So we just take that information, put it together beforehand, and we go back and we're talking to our clients and say, this is our plan for selling your house. This is what we need you to do. We need you to help on prep. Are you going to be at the house? Is there going to be furniture at the house? Do we want to talk about staging the house and that piece of it? We're doing all that ahead of time. So the house is properly prepared once we get into that. Talk about pricing. We talk about what it's going to take to get it on the market. We talk about, do we want to do an inspection beforehand? I have a listing now that was fully renovated. It was a rental property. They turned it into a nice little cute little house, but a lot of people are going to think it's a flip. So we suggested having the inspector come out. So now from a client standpoint, you're doing a little bit of work ahead of time. Now, literally all they're doing once the house is on the market is I'm giving them feedback on what I'm hearing. When offers come in, we're reviewing that the same way we would do when we're talking to a buyer. We're walking through the transaction steps on that, the negotiation steps on that. We tell them what's next. We give a lot of what's next. So you see a lot of stuff again on the checklist and things that we use. A lot of it is really about we're going to get to what's next when it's next, so that it's smaller chunks for our clients. They're not getting overwhelmed, getting crazy on things because like, wow, there's so much I need to do. Well, I will tell you that on the listing side, those conversations have gotten harder in the past couple of years, and I'm sure you guys are all seeing this too. It wasn't that long ago that people just felt they can just throw a sign in their front yard and people are going to be lining up out the door to go buy their house. Well, it should have never been the case in the first place. That was not normal, but people thought it was because they got used to it. There's work that needs to be done. Our job as a resource is to make sure the work is getting done. Don't make it harder than it needs to be, but we take it again in small chunks. This is how we're going to help with the prep. These are the things you're going to do. Do we want to think about doing a home warranty? I had a client listing their house. They had older HVAC system. It was working fine. Our recommendation, we had two recommendations for them. So get it serviced so we can show that it was serviced, and get a home warranty. So if something happens to the HVAC system while it's under the market, while it's on the market, you're going to have to fix it anyway. So fix it. They ended up doing that. Didn't cost them a ton of money. About 2 weeks, strange enough, 2 weeks after they had it maintenance, and they said they had some potential concerns, but it was running fine. About 2 weeks later, system went out. So they had the home warranty. They called on the warranty. They got their new system, way better than having to spend $10,000 on a new HVAC system, and way, way, way better than dropping the price $30,000 because you're selling a house that has no air conditioning in a 90-degree day. So none of this is complicated. Sometimes it may mean having some harder conversations than you want to have, but as long as we remember that we are a resource to our clients, we're doing what we need to be doing. So that may not have sounded as simple as we like to make it out to be, but it really is. Like, that's why you see with us, we're very process driven, and a lot of that is internal process. We take that down to, once the deal is done, when you're negotiating a deal, there's always the back and forth. Very rarely is that first offer accepted. Our process internally goes all the way down to, okay, now when that deal has been accepted, these are the terms we have. We have an email template that says, want to confirm these things that are going to go in the offer as you rewrite the offer for us. Here are our next steps. Here's where we're going to meet to get the due diligence check so I can get it to my client. As many bases as we can cover as possible makes it simple for everybody on the other end. So from a client standpoint, all they're getting is, okay, I picked up the check today. I'm going to go drop it off to you. Go put it in the bank. Doesn't have to be harder. I think a lot of times we make a lot of busy work to make it harder, to make it more. We think we're adding value to our clients. We're really not. And keeping it simple, having the good process in place really makes the most sense. So I'm curious to some of you guys out there, like, do you have a process? What is your process? Is that something, like, we'd love to help you with that. If you're like, man, this makes good sense, but I never thought of it that way. Like, how do I get started on the process? Let us help you. Like, that's what we're here for. Or if you're like, man, this is our process. That is way more simple than what you just explained, Rich. I want to hear that too. And that's, if you want to jump on now and talk to us about it, or if you want to reach out to me personally and have a one-on-one conversation, that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that we're keeping this as simple as possible. And I know, Deb, on your side, and we were just talking about it before we got on, that having that back end process that, like, we as the clients don't see, but that makes it as easy as possible, just is all the difference in the world.
I think also it gives you peace of mind. If you're an agent and you're juggling like even 4 deals at a time, or more, you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly and you can very easily forget, well, what did I do? Did I send this? Did I do that? And so having that checklist just keeps you in check, because we all need it. Literally, it keeps you in check. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the seller process that we just showed you, there is a section on there that we specifically have for when a property is active, and let's say it's been sitting and the sellers are getting antsy, which, let's be honest, most of us, I feel like, are feeling that right now in the market. A lot of listings are sitting, but we have a section in there called reboot/reposition if it's not getting traction. And I think that's very, very important. And a lot of agents forget that piece of it because they think it goes active. They do their initial social post, they do their initial marketing, and then they just let it sit and don't do anything past that one post or that one promotion. And I think one of the smartest things you can do in a little bit of a difficult market right now that we're in, is not only have that process, but because you have that process, it's going to make it easier on you to set the expectation with your clients. Because when you come in, you have your listing appointment, they've signed all the documents, you're starting to kind of walk them through what the process is going to look like. That's your time to set the expectation there. So imagine if you're sitting with them and you're talking, okay, we're going to hit the market, we're going to do coming soon, then we're going to go active. And let's just say 2 weeks after we go active, we're not getting the amount of showings we want, we're not getting the results that we want. This is what's going to happen next. That way, because truthfully, it's almost inevitable that the house is going to sit for longer. It's almost inevitable the seller's going to get a little antsy, understandably, but this market is very different than markets we were in prior. And so, because you're setting up that conversation from the jump before it's even been sitting on the market, they already know what to expect. Oh, this is, it sucks that it's been sitting 2 weeks. We didn't get the results that we want. However, I already know Rich is about to call me today and be like, oh, let's reboot it. Let's treat it like a new listing. Let's do another push. Let's do everything that we can to try to get in front of as many people as possible. And I think that will cause you a lot of less headaches.
Agreed. Agreed. And we're all seeing that. And some of it is just like, I talk to my clients and we'll have a weekly standing call on listings and what's going on. And they just want to know, like, yeah, they want their house to be sold yesterday, but they want to know what are we trying to do about that? And we'll talk about it. And sometimes it brings up not easy conversations, things we can't fix. I have one house so part of our process, when I see that a showing has been requested, we send out hey, thanks for looking at our listing. Now, I know every buyer's agent out there wants to ask me what the buyer's agent compensation is because they want to know what they're getting paid. And I give them an excuse to call me. I'm like, hey, let me give you some additional information about the house. Here's an area experience tour. Here are the things around the neighborhood if you don't know the area as well. I want to give them as many tools as possible to help them sell that house. So we start off with that, brings up some conversations. Shocks me the number of agents that don't reach out to me because you want to have as much information as possible about the house, including how much you're going to get paid. What ends up happening then, once they've seen the house, I'm asking for feedback. And this one particular house, it is a fantastic house. It's on a cul-de-sac. It backs up where you can walk out the huge side yard. You walk out along the side yard. There's a little path that takes you out to the community park. So there's playgrounds, ball fields, whole 9 yards, everything over there. But it has a small backyard. So the number of times I get feedback of the backyard being small, I'm like, okay. And I ask the agents, like, well, why is that important to your client? Because if it's like, oh, they want to have a place to entertain. Here's the side yard. They can fence that in, or they have a dog and they want to let the dog out. This area can get in, or they want to have a place to play. Oh, there's always plenty of stuff going on in the cul-de-sac. It's easy to walk down to the park. The more information that I know about from them, what's important to their client, either it's going to work or it's not. And it's easier to have those conversations. So again, we're doing our job, making it easier. I can also go back to my clients. Like, I don't love having the conversation with them where I'm like, yeah, we've had people that are interested, but it's the backyard again. Like, here's the information that we are providing for that. So they don't think we're just sitting around saying, oh, when another week the house didn't sell, lower the price again. That's always the easy answer. We're showing the things that we're doing. We're doing tomorrow. We have a house that we had under contract. The buyer financing fell apart. So we put the house back on the market. So we're doing a broker open house. If you guys are local, it is up in Zebulon. Happy to send you the address for it. Come check it out. But how we're doing that too is that we know that there are a lot of agents out there that are looking for ways to get their buyer clients off the fence. And with some of that, maybe they don't have as much going on. So we're doing two things that client loves because it's bringing more people into the house. One of our lenders is going to be there with us, and he's going to explain the 2-1 buy down program to anybody who is interested in that. Clients be more than happy to pay for rather than lowering the price, pay for that 2-1 buy down program where your buyer client can get that house for a less expensive price because they're getting a lower rate. So having that information available to any agents who want it is great. We also have our photographer coming out. He's going to take some pictures. He's got some great stuff that we posted online, but he's also, people are looking for content. Hey, you want to show off a house? He's going to go out there and take pictures for people who are there. I'm like, hey, look at this great house. Come and check it out. Hey, maybe your client doesn't love that house, loves something else. But we've provided you with content. It's something else that we're going to do to be able to tell our clients, like, hey, we're doing everything we possibly can to sell this house and trying to help our colleagues to do more for themselves. So that refresh program is a huge thing. It's part of what we have on there, the expectations that the clients have. So we have these conversations. It's not just, hey, thanks for signing this listing agreement. Now we're just going to sit back, wait for the house to sell, and if it doesn't, tell you to lower the price. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys. So we have one last little stat, because I like your stats that you pull for me. So it was a 2024 survey that said 24% of buyers said their agent was less helpful than expected. 54% felt their agent cared more about the deal than about them. Those are some pretty interesting stats. Like everything you do, like we can make this simple by simply asking the client what's important to them. If people are saying that and they think that the agent could have been more helpful, maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But if they don't know that, they don't know you're doing everything you can. There are certain things that are out of your control. They should still know that you're trying. If they're saying that you felt you cared more about the deal than about them, well, yes, your goal, like, let's be real, your goal is to get the deal done. This is how we make money, this is how we put food on the table. Sure, you want to get the deal done. We all signed up for a people business. We want to make sure that the people that we are serving know that our interests are met by their interests being met. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can keep it simple. Hopefully, we didn't make this sound too complicated to you guys. We'd love to see you come out to future huddles, talk about some more things. Love to see you come out if you're local. Come check out our listing out in Zebulon. We're going to do that with a couple other listings in the coming weeks. And yeah, if you want to ask questions now, we are here. If you'd like to reach out to me directly and have some more specific stuff, I know sometimes on these, not everybody wants to say something out loud. Reach out to me directly. I'm happy to. We'll block off 15 minutes, half hour, and we can talk through whatever you guys want to talk about.
I'm going to go ahead and drop your email address in the chat. So if you would prefer to chat with Rich directly, that's his email address. Also, the workbook that I put in when we first got in here, it should be also at the top of the chat. That workbook is something that I highly recommend you print out. And while this information is still relevant and fresh in your mind, whether you're watching this live, I know a bunch of you are going to be watching this in the replay. So even do this at night when you have a few minutes, you're not busy. Take this workbook we give you and answer the questions systematically. Obviously, every agent does things differently. Everybody has different clients, different personalities, different things that they want to do. And so this workbook is going to help you actually create at least a general foundation of a structure similar to the checklist we showed you, but it's going to help you figure out like what should be on yours, what should be in your process for buy side and list side. And so at minimum, print that out, see if that's helpful. Rich's contact information's in the chat, and I'm also about to drop the registration link for the upcoming huddle. The upcoming huddle is on July 22nd from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern time. This one's going to be big. We've already got people signing up for this. The topic for July 22nd is the open house that fills your pipeline, not just the sign-in sheet. So I don't know if you have anything to say on that while I drop this in here.
Oh, do I have things to say about that? So many agents I talk to, and there's usually a couple, like we do this online in Zoom and we get more people on Zoom, but we have a couple local agents that oftentimes come in and contribute right from the room. And we talk about this all the time, though. When we started, it was a thing, get out and do open houses. And all of us, to a person, built their business pretty strongly on doing open houses. It provided content, it provided buyer opportunities, it provided so much more than just getting names on the list. And all of us have great stories to tell on that. And now when we have listings to try to get agents to do open houses, nobody wants to do them. It's a gold mine sitting there that I don't understand why more people don't take advantage of. And some of it, I think, is because maybe there's some small tips and tricks that people just don't know or don't do that you can make this really effective for you. So that's going to be our next huddle. That's going to be 2 weeks from today. We'd love to see you guys out for that. Again, please reach out to me with any questions. Please reach out. I'd love to sit down with you for a few minutes, talk about your process. And I'm going to leave you with this last little piece of homework. Also, feel free to send me that exercise we did in the beginning. That person shows up and says they want to see this house this weekend. Send me your 5-step or less process on what you do next. I'd love to see that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying so many questions.
No, no. Everybody's quiet today, which is okay. But I know, again, that we're going to get a lot of people in the replay because life gets busy. We understand. So, again, you can reach out to Rich at richburghgraef@gmail.com. Rich, give him your phone number, too. What's the best phone number?
919-378-1125. Always get me there.
Perfect. And then we've dropped the upcoming huddle in the chat there, and we'll obviously get you guys personal invitations as well. But we appreciate you popping in. Sydney, I know you have been undercover the whole time, but we hope to hear from you at some point. Hope to see you in the future. Upcoming huddles, and we'll see you on the next one.
That sounds great. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it.